Colorado Republicans are coming together and healing after a disastrous election.
Forget the stupid Republican Party behind their back. They are corrupt. They're whores.
Okay, maybe Republican leaders are still divided. Marijuana sales are slipping, and with them, the money that goes to things like building new schools. There is a 21st candidate for Denver mayor, but we've managed to find one of the few people in the city not running for mayor to ask her what the new mayor should focus on. And a holiday tradition around here, making sure that every single kid in Denver's public housing gets a gift. Not one kid turned away. You've done it 2 years in a row. I hope we'll do it again. Next.
Let's start out with a question. Would Colorado be better off with two functional, competitive political parties? Would that be healthier for the state? Because the Colorado Republican Party is not competitive. And after historic blowouts on election night, a far-right faction launched an effort today to take over party leadership. They did so from the parking lot of a boot barn in Greenwood Village. Here's Steve Steger.
There was one man, his name was Shama.
A call for biblical courage outside a Western wear outfitter.
Shama stood his ground in that field of beans, just like we were standing here together in this parking lot outside a boot barn.
This group of far-right conservatives stood as close to the state Republican Party headquarters as they were legally allowed.
We have a Republican Party that is full of whores.
Calling for change, shouting, really.
They have not held to the Republican platform, which is conservative. They've not held to the U.S. Constitution. And then you wonder why these asswipes can't win a race.
The Save Colorado Project's message is made up of tropes we've become accustomed to.
There is fraud in our elections. I call that a cabal.
We have the machines. They have to go.
This one was new.
Get Christy Burton, the liar, out. She's against our country. She's against Republican politics, and she hates America.
We were told Christy Burton Brown, the leader of the state Republican Party, wasn't available to talk to us today. She was available to talk to a conservative radio host this morning, saying she'd make a decision about her future as leader in December.
Hey, we have free speech here. People can express whatever they want to.
The group also calling for closed primary.
It is up to Republicans to pick Republican candidates. What the hell were we thinking to allow Democrats to pick our candidate?
That's not how open primaries work. Republican and independent voters pick the GOP candidates. 9 News Republican analyst Kelly Maher says a closed primary wouldn't fix the GOP's problem.
If you can't compete in an open primary, how is anybody going to expect that you can compete in an open actual general election? These people are saying that they want to take their ball and go home, and what they're not realizing is there is no ball.
Now, despite Colorado voters neutering the Republican Party, this far-right group is calling on its members to get involved in local races and precinct politics to take the leadership of the state party back. Elections for state party leadership coming up in March, and that should be something to watch.
You know, Kelly Maher brought up something to you that you and I had actually talked about earlier in the day, that there's going to be like a 4-year window where Colorado Republicans can't win much back anyway because stuff is not on the ballot. So maybe this is an opportune time to let that faction of the party run the show. And I mean, either they're going to win and that'll show the establishment, or they'll get smoked like brisket and then everybody will know that that doesn't really work here.
I mean, yeah, the thought is it's easy to stand on the other side and say, hey, the way this is working now isn't working for the rest of us. You guys try to run it for a little while and let's see what happens. That may either elevate that faction of the party or it may kind of push them out.
Yeah. Who in the world wants to run that party so that people can stand in the boot barn parking lot and scream that you're a blankety blank and everything else?
They encouraged people after they were done to go inside, grab something for the holidays from the boot barn.
All right. One-stop shopping. Steve, thank you. So you saw election denier and conspiracy theorist Tina Peters briefly in Steve's story about that event in Denver. Peters, of course, is facing a felony indictment for tampering with voting equipment in her role as the Mesa County clerk. And just this afternoon, one of her former co-workers pleaded guilty to helping her do it. Sandra Brown now plans to testify for the prosecution against Peters so that Brown can avoid prison time. Brown was an elections manager in Mesa County. She and Peters are accused of plotting to make copies of election software to give that to conspiracy theorists. Brown pleaded guilty in attempting to influence a public servant and official misconduct. She becomes the second employee of Clerk Peters who will testify against her. Deputy Clerk Belinda Nisley pleaded guilty back in August. A recount of one of the closest congressional races in the whole country is going to start soon. Colorado Secretary of State's office today ordered the mandatory recount for the race between Republican Lauren Boebert and Democrat Adam Frisch. Just 550 votes separate Boebert and Frisch, but both agree that the race is over. Because it's still so tight, it falls in the 0.5% differential when a recount is required by law. Frisch has conceded the race. He's told his supporters, do not give money to anybody who says they're doing it for the recount. He told people, save your cash for gas and groceries and rent. Recounts in Colorado, we should note, typically do not change results by much. It may just be a few votes here and there. Colorado's marijuana industry is coming down off a high in sales. They've declined for more than a year. That impacts state programs funded by marijuana tax revenue. Here's Mark Salinger.
In an industry that's built on getting high, marijuana sales in Colorado are seeing record lows.
Right now, the Colorado marijuana industry is going through the largest downturn that we've ever seen.
Now, Truman Bradley with the Wheat Ridge-based Marijuana Industry Group is sounding the alarm.
Our industry is going through big-time layoffs.
So why is this all happening now? It starts with supply and demand. When everyone was sent home in 2020, well, let's just say there wasn't much to do. That's that big spike in marijuana sales you see on the graph during the pandemic. Now that people aren't stuck at home, they aren't buying as much weed.
The medical market is down about 47% statewide, and the recreational market is down about 20%.
But that's just one problem. In Colorado, the wholesale price of marijuana is at a record low. Today, it costs $658 per pound. That's half the price compared with this time last year, when it was selling for more than $1,300. Revenue is also down. In September of 2022, stores made nearly $147 million worth of marijuana sales. That's down from more than $181 million in September of 2021 and $206 million in the same month of 2020.
What that means is when the state's joint budget committee gets together this year to look at marijuana tax revenue, they're going to be looking at $100 million shortfall.
Marijuana revenue, excise tax is a large portion of the revenue that comes into the program.
Andy Stein is the Director of Capital Construction with the Colorado Department of Education. Last fiscal year, the department's Building Excellence Schools Today program, or BEST, took in $97 million in marijuana tax money to fund grants for school construction and renovation. That will likely go down this year.
We would have to decrease the amount of grants that we were able to offer to schools in the next fiscal year.
Marijuana tax revenue funds about 100 different programs around the state. Last year, Colorado collected a record $423 million in taxes from cannabis. Programs like BEST have several revenue streams funding them, but if they get less money from marijuana taxes, they won't necessarily be able to fund all of those grants.
I guess my question, Mark, is if we are coming off of this high in sales that we think was fueled by the stay-home period of the pandemic, was a decline in sales inevitable?
I mean, that's a fair assumption to make, but it's important to note that this industry is so new. I mean, marijuana was only legalized 10 years ago. They didn't start selling it until 8 years ago, that we don't really have a whole lot of historical data to continue figuring out what's going to happen next.
Learning as we go. Mark, thank you. Through 129 of your weekly Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns, you are this close to have raised a combined $10 million. I really try not to pick favorites among all the nonprofits that you've helped over the last 2 years, but we do have one reoccurring campaign at the holidays that's really special. When we try to buy a holiday gift for every single child in Denver's public housing. You've done this 2 years in a row. We make it 3. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign is helping the nonprofit Friends of Denver Housing Authority with its goal to buy a holiday gift for every kid they serve. So it works like this. Parents sign up to receive a gift for their child, and they go on a list in the order in which they sign up. The nonprofit foundation that supports families in Denver public housing then starts buying gifts for kids on the list in the order that they sign up until the funds run out. So that's where we come in. For the last 2 years, together, we have made sure that those funds do not run out, that no family in Denver public housing is turned away if they're trying to find a holiday gift for their child. Your generosity has actually been so overwhelming on this that for the last 2 years, you've not only purchased a gift for every child in Denver public housing, you have also purchased gifts for kids in Denver's Section 8 housing, which is privately owned housing for families with low incomes. Scan the QR code on your screen to get that link to donate, or you can find it in the next section on 9news.com or on any of our social media accounts. You have proven that even $5 from enough people will add up. So as always, I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us started. This is my favorite holiday tradition around here. With your help, again this year, we'll make sure that every kid in Denver public housing is included on that gift list. Thank you.
RTD's month of free rides got more people on buses and light rail, but RTD's not sure if it hit its goal. A neighborhood needing a win gets one. A park for families that have dealt with construction, noise, and pollution. Another candidate for Denver mayor, 21 people in the race. We continue to track down the handful of Denverites who aren't running to ask why they're not interested.
I do not suffer fool's gold.
Guess neither do you. That's why you're here. For next.
There are at least 65 cases of missing or murdered Indigenous people in Colorado since 1977. The state now has a new person leading the effort to find out what happened to them. Aaron Julian will run the state's new Office of Liaison for Missing or Murdered Indigenous Relatives, working with CBI and law enforcement to get answers for families in tribal nations. Julian's been in law enforcement for 36 years, including time as the police chief for the Bishop Paiute tribe in California. He's also a member of the Hickory Apache tribe from northern New Mexico. RTD offered free rides on its services in August, trying to cut down on pollution, improve air quality during the summer. So how'd it work? RTD is not sure. Transit agency submitted its zero fare for better air report to the state. RTD admits that the impacts on air quality are hard to determine because they didn't really have a baseline. RTD says it would need numbers on how many of the new riders ditched their cars to take RTD. They can point to some positives. Ridership was up 22% in August compared to July. They said there was no major overcrowding or disruption to operations, and RTD says there was no major increase in crime on trains, light rail, or buses.
Well, everything is calm but cold out there. We're at 23 degrees at DIA. It feels like 16 with winds coming in from the west-northwest at around 6 miles per hour. But as you take a look at our HD Doppler radar, not a whole lot will be happening as we go through the evening tonight and through most of the day tomorrow. We're really just going to watch those temperatures climb from very cold temperatures that we had been seeing. So tonight we'll see those lows in the mid-20s, light winds. It'll be partly cloudy. Tomorrow we'll see more sunshine and those temperatures back in the mid-50s. It'll feel nice out there, but it will be breezy at times, especially picking up as we go into the afternoon to late night hours into Friday. So we already have a high wind watch that'll be in effect for a good portion of the state. This is going to be along the Front Range foothills and then across the Palmer Divide and then southern and southeastern portions of the state where we could see those winds gusting 60, 75, 100 miles per hour at times. So again, that's late Thursday into Friday. And then during that same time span, we have winter storm watches that'll be in effect for a good portion of the high country north all the way through south. So we're going to watch for a few inches of snowfall, but the bigger story is going to be the wind paired with that snowfall. Areas mostly we'll see 4 to 8 inches, 2 to 4 inches, 5 to 10 inches. So not a whole lot of snowfall, but with those strong winds that creates blowing snow and very hazardous driving conditions. So we're going to watch for that Thursday into Friday. Friday into Saturday, we have avalanche warnings that'll be in effect. So you'll want to watch for that, especially in backcountry areas. But in the meantime, we will see some mild temperatures. So tomorrow, sunny, windy at times, temperatures in the 50s, and then we're going to watch for all of that change to push in Thursday night into Friday. Maybe a few snow flurries are possible here in Denver, most of it staying in the high country.
The viaduct, it made a real barrier where people didn't want to cross.
A community divided by construction is feeling better connected again. And while it seems like everyone and their mother is running for Denver mayor, this mother isn't. But she has a strong suggestion for whoever gets the job. Next.
The Central 70 project disrupted lives and physically divided the Rio Swansea neighborhood of Denver. A new park unveiled today will better connect that community. The park sits above I-70 in the section where the interstate goes down into the tunnel now. There's a soccer field up there, an amphitheater in the park, but most importantly, there's a physical connection between the north and south side of the neighborhood on 46th Avenue. It's a safer place for people to cross over the interstate.
But we had multiple points for crosswalk duty, and nobody wanted to do it. It didn't feel safe. Huge trucks were going past people, and you have to stand out there with the stop sign and try to get the cars to stop so kids could cross. Yes, I do feel like it's a win for our community. It's a place where people can come and bring their families.
This was part of the promise for all the people in that neighborhood who had to deal with the noise and the pollution and the disruption of the construction for years. They'll have an official park grand opening on Saturday. Hey, there's a 21st candidate in the race for Denver mayor. Democratic State Representative Alex Valdez filed his paperwork today. Valdez founded a solar business. He's worked on environmental and energy issues in the state legislature. He leads the Latino caucus and previously led the LGBTQ caucus. To give you an idea of just how many people are in this mayor's race, Valdez is the third Democrat from the state legislature to get in for mayor. You will be hearing a lot from the candidates in the race for Denver mayor because, well, there's a lot of them, 21 total. Only next is profiling the several Denverites who are not running for mayor.
I do not suffer fools well. I'm not interested in doing that.
And that is why Chris Cusick's not running for mayor. I mean, she could. She's retired. She lives in Southeast Denver. She has a master's in public administration. She even worked for the Denver Regional Council of Governments. She's one of a few people who are not running for mayor, but she told us she'd like that person to focus on safety downtown.
I also enjoy a cocktail now and again, and so that's not a good mix. And I was taking Uber all over downtown to Southeast Denver. I was hopping on light rail and meeting my son who lives in Lodi. Union Station, go to a baseball game, and I do not feel safe doing that anymore.
Our interviews with some of the 21 people running for Denver mayor are on the next YouTube page. If you live in Denver and you are not running for mayor, but you have a good suggestion for the next mayor, email us next@9news.com. Your feedback's coming up, along with our annual effort to make sure that every kid in Denver public housing gets a gift. Next. Your work tonight to buy a holiday gift for every kid in Denver public housing is off to an amazing start. Who else in Colorado but you can raise more than $20,000 in 10 minutes time? For 3 years now, around this time in December, we set out to make sure that every family who signs up to get a gift for their child receives one. Previously, the way that this worked in Denver public housing is that they'd make a list, and then when funds ran out, families left on the waiting list were out of luck. We're not going to do that. You haven't let that happen for 2 years. Scan the QR code on your screen to get the link to join me in donating. Friends of Denver Housing Authority is the nonprofit that organizes these annual holiday gift drives. You've been so incredibly generous over the last 2 years. Not only have you covered a gift for every single child living in Denver public housing, but they've been able to expand their holiday gift drive to also include kids in Denver's Section 8 housing, like private landlords where people get help with their housing costs. This is an amazing effort that you pull off year after year. Those are some of the families that benefited last year. In your feedback tonight, Shirley says the segment on those not running for mayor is pure next. I'm glad you enjoy it. I also think that we have the attention of at least some of the mayoral candidates who said on social media they'll be paying attention to what these folks say. Craig says we will not get diversity in politics from people wearing coonskin hats yelling at people. In fairness, Craig, I think a lot of elections were won that way in the 1800s. See you next time.